Okay, so Chris, I may need a cigarette for this.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, The Killing Joke, the animated Killing Joke, was released recently, and you have not watched it yet.
I have not seen
correct?
it, no.
Are you okay with some spoilers to The Killing Joke?
I already know exactly how the comic ends.
Okay, great. Great. So, The Killing Joke movie, all right? It's what everybody wanted. It's the probably one of the few Batman story arcs that I think would even make a great movie, okay? And hold on, let me light this. Okay. So, you have the story of The Killing Joke, which is the Joker shoots Barbara Gordon, recounts his backstory, and tries to drive Jim Gordon insane with the idea that all it takes is one bad day to go from Jim Gordon to the Joker. And Batman is almost a secondary character in the story of The Killing Joke. It is a Joker story.
Yeah.
All right? So you have The Killing Joke animated movie. It's an hour and 15 minutes long. All right. 45 minutes, the last 45 minutes of it is the Killing Joke story. But the first 35 minutes of it is about Batgirl. It's about Barbara Gordon, who had a very, very, very tiny part in the actual Killing Joke graphic novel.
Yeah.
Okay. So we spoke about it on the live stream about Batman and Barbara Gordon as Batgirl. They fuck on a rooftop.
Yeah.
Okay. There's this mobster who's like a sociopath who is like in love with Batgirl, and he sends her messages, and you know, like he'll send a tape to the Gotham PD and be like, "Hey Batgirl, come find me, I love you," and all this stuff. And she's like in love with Batman. Okay. But this other guy's giving her attention, and Batman's like, "No, you're off the case. This is getting too personal. He's objectifying you." He actually said those words. He's objectifying you. And then like later they fuck.
Yeah.
Like during that same scene. Okay. But she was the sexual aggressor. It wasn't him. They like fight for a little bit, and then she lands on top of him, and then they kiss, and then she's like, "Fuck this," takes the cowl off, takes her top off, and then it's just implied that they fuck. Which, by the way, this was rated R, okay? Yeah. This totally could have been rated PG-13.
Yeah.
If Suicide Squad could have been PG-13, then The Killing Joke sure as hell could have been PG-13. There was nothing R-rated about this animated thing, and I think the R rating was strictly marketing. Okay,
yeah.
So I'll get that out of the way.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. So then it goes into this whole Barbara thing, and it follows her for a good 35 minutes. You know, her day-to-day life outside of being Batgirl. Trying to track down this criminal, getting taken off the case, fucking Batman. He stops calling her because he's alpha as fuck. And then she gets shot by the Joker. Okay, so whatever. All right, my issue with the Killing Joke animated story is not the Killing Joke part of it, but that beginning. And that's the issue that a lot of people are taking with the Killing Joke, because it's so unnecessary to follow any story of the Batgirl or Barbara Gordon in the context of the Killing Joke story. It's so unnecessary. Okay. So here I have some ideas of ways that we could have made the animated Killing Joke better.
Okay.
All right. So we could have just fleshed out Joker's backstory a little bit, okay? We could have shown him, like, bombing on stage at the stand-up at comedy club that he talks about in the show, but we don't see, okay? We could have shown him scenes of him, you know, trying to seek out these mobsters that end up making him wear the red hood and all that kind of stuff in the Ace Chemicals factory and all that. We could have seen more of that. We could have seen him torturing Jim Gordon more than he did, and really driving home that psychological thing with all it takes is one bad day to go from Jim Gordon to the Joker.
Yeah.
We could have done all that. We could have fleshed it out. It might not have been as long of a movie, but it would have served it well. Okay? But here is what, if they were going to focus on any character in the Killing Joke besides the Joker and besides Batman, it should have been Jim Gordon.
Yeah.
Okay? Because the whole purpose of the Killing Joke was for him to drive Jim Gordon crazy, and he fails at that ultimately. And the whole premise is all it takes is one bad day to go from Jim Gordon to the Joker. All right. So why not have Jim Gordon having a bad day? Mm-hmm. He's spilling coffee on himself on the way to Gotham PD. He loses a court case on a technicality against some criminal he's been trying to throw the book at. He's had a bad day. And then, well, at least it'll get better because I get to spend time with my lovely daughter. And then boom, she gets shot. Why wouldn't they do that? Mm-hmm. Why would they choose to focus on Barbara Gordon?
Well, okay, and I will just say, devil's advocate, that the Killing Joke for Barbara Gordon was such a turning point in her character arc. Like, she became an entirely different person.
It was. You're right. And you know what? Originally, the Killing Joke was not supposed to be canon. It was supposed to be an Elseworld story, but it was so popular that they were like, okay, well then, yeah, Barbara Gordon really is going to be paralyzed from the waist down and then becoming the Oracle.
Yeah.
But still, in the context of that story, the only reason Barbara Gordon is shot is to fuck with her dad. So why not make the dad more
Why not make it more of his story?
Right.
Whether or not he actually does go crazy and join the dark side, that should have been a more prominent story arc.
Right. So
there should have been a legitimate threat of it. Is what you're saying, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just kind of drive home that fact that, you know what, maybe it doesn't just take a bad day. Maybe Jim Gordon really is a good guy. Mm-hmm. And seeing all these things with the implied rape of his daughter, which they touch on a little bit in the animated movie, and being tortured and all that stuff and taken to the funhouse and everything, that he's still at the end, he's like, no, like, we're going to do this by the book. We're going to show the Joker that we really, you know, we are who we say we are. We are the good guys. Mm-hmm. Okay. Another issue I had with the animated Killing Joke is in some scenes, the animation was great. In others, it looked cheap. Okay. And with the story that's so iconic, why wouldn't they spend a little bit more on the animation?
And as much talk and controversy that surrounded this, you'd think they would throw as much money at it as possible,
right,
to make the best product possible. But it doesn't seem like that's what they did.
Right. Maybe they spent it all on Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill. Who knows?
Honestly, yeah.
Who knows? But would I recommend The Killing Joke? If you've read the comic, no. I wouldn't recommend it. Wow. It's definitely two distinct stories in one. Okay, one that didn't need to be told, and another that could have been told better.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you're a fan of that story, it's just going to piss you off. If you do want to watch it, fast forward 35 minutes. Skip all that Barbara Gordon crap and just get to the meat and potatoes of the story, because that's what it really is. Because they don't even show the Joker until halfway through, or 35 minutes into it, until that whole Barbara Gordon thing is done. So yeah, I don't think I could really recommend it, and I was very disappointed in it. And I think with a story that iconic should have been given more consideration and maybe done a little bit more justice.
Yeah. So I will say, I've never read the original graphic novel. I've never read it personally. So I might not be as bothered with the presentation of the animated movie. But like given this very conversation that we have had about it, I can't say that I'm particularly inclined to want to see it. Like, I will absolutely wait until it's free and on like HBO or something like that before I ever even try to watch it.
Well, here's the thing, okay? So if you were going into it without us having this conversation, but being aware of the Killing Joke, and you started it, and you're like 15 minutes into it, you're like, wait, are we watching the right thing? Is this the right story we're supposed to be watching? Because I thought this was a Joker